Hi, I'm Raphael Sbarge, and you're listening to Operation Cobra Podcast.
Zahara, I played King Midas on Once Upon a Time. Anyways, oh jeez. Did I wear the right shirt? I don't know. No one's like an epileptic, are they? Anyways, how's everybody doing? Have a good time? Yeah. It's my first Dragon Con. Whoa. It's pretty intense. So I guess I'll sit down and use my
It gets better.
Feedback in the sense that hello. Hi, I'm from Vancouver, by the way.
Yay!
I know it sounds. So how many people here are Canadians? Any Canadians? No? Not a Canadian? Are you serious? What?
Canadian by proxy.
By proxy, I'll take it. You know the Canadians here? What's that?
Also by proxy.
By proxy. There you go.
We're all Canadian adjacent.
There you go. There's Raphael. I just thought I'd break the ice and say hi while you guys are, making your way down the hall. There you go.
We were backstage waiting for you.
Oh, sorry.
Introduce you.
Oh, well, I kind of took care of that. So.
Well, obviously we don't need an introduction now. For this panel, we're doing Q&A, one mic over there and one mic here. If you have questions, please go to the mic, don't just stand up and start shouting questions. After the track, please go to the app and rate. The higher the rating, the more times we get to ask people to come back.
Nice.
So we're being judged.
But not Chris Judge. No.
I got that one yesterday. Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, well, just pretend you haven't heard any of the jokes already.
Hi.
Is there a question?
You have a question? No? We want this good place. Well, I'll tell you a quick King Midas story while we do that. I played King Midas, fortunate enough to do that. It was fun. I had 3 costume fittings for King Midas because I had all the lovely robes and stuff, and they were great. They're the hottest goddamn things you ever wore. We were shooting out in the GVRD in the Seymour Forest out there. It was 38 degrees. 38 Celsius, which is like 2 million Fahrenheit. And I'm not joking when I say like myself and all the knights and everybody else, we drank water, like Gatorade water all day long. I never peed once. And there's the camera can get it there. I'll show you. There's a great shot of me. I'll get my phone open. There's a great shot of me cooling off, and as King Midas, and my buddy Rebecca was doing makeup on the day there, and she came by and said, "Oh, Alex, I can't believe you're doing that." I said, "What?" Because I was up on a stage and they had some fans set up, blowing air. And you'll never be able to see that, but you'll never see that. But anyway, we'll let Keegan describe it. Oh, right here. Can you get in there? Or something with the computer? Well, I'll just pass my phone around. And I'm not joking. I'll put it in the audience. Just make sure you get it back. There you go. Put it on Twitter? All right. But it's me, Keegan can describe it. It's me flashing everybody with my camouflage hair. It's my rock and roll shot of me, flashing. I'm not giving my phone in the crowd.
You gotta watch out for those extra pictures, though.
No vacation pictures, right?
I don't have any of those on my phone.
There you go.
You know, I was actually telling this story the other day because I was shooting a couple of weeks ago, and I was standing out at craft services in my ridiculous big blue fairy outfit, and and I was watching somebody trying to get into their trailer, and I couldn't see who it was. He was like wrestling with this giant cape and like struggling, and he was trying to get the pieces in, and finally he turned around and it was Jafar, and I just couldn't stop laughing. He had his big shoes on with like trying to watch him wrestle. That's what it's like on Once Upon a Time. Like you just people in craft services are at lunch, like you see King Midas on his iPhone and things. I like doing this though. I feel a little servile. I feel kind of like a rock star if I do this though.
Is there a question over there?
No, there's no questions.
Oh, yeah,
All right, you have your name. You have your storybook name, and then you have your
Fairy tale?
fairy tale name. Does it ever get confusing on that, or is there a funny story with name confusion?
Do you get confused between your storybook names and your fairy tale names, and is that ever funny?
I don't have too much of a problem with it because they're pretty different.
And when I do Jimmy Cricket as a cricket, generally it's done in a computer lab. So it's the miracle of me coming into a dark room and basically looping it, which is sort of doing the voiceover for afterwards. So yeah, I mean, but the usually when you come in to do things in fairy tale land, it's really, you know that's a fairy tale land day because the costumes and the sets and the production is such that they will really give it to you. So even though in the show it kind of happens fast, when they do it, they really do it, and you know where you are. Excellent.
And I've always felt like the king, so. One way or the other.
People run in front of him and open doors all the time.
Exactly. Well, Alexander.
Come back.
Did we know? I'm into names. Alexander means the helper of mankind, and my last name is Zahara. It's Zahara. It's Ukrainian, but it actually came from India. Alexander the Great's armies brought it back from India. And the name actually means the king, helper of mankind from beyond the hills. So there you go.
Wow.
I know.
I'll be a test on this later, I hope you do.
I bet you didn't know that Keegan means beautiful, beautiful lady.
We have some questions.
Hi. I have a quick question for actually all three of you then. What is your, and I asked this kind of yesterday, what is your favorite fan story since you've taken on the parts with Once Upon a Time? Favorite fan story, stalker emails, because I saw Raphael on your Twitter yesterday. Yes, I stalk you. And you were like amazed by she's the one. No, the chosen one. But I saw that you took pictures of Batman, and I asked yesterday, you guys didn't go further with it. What are you into? Obviously, I'm a Potter girl, but I'm also a oncer. But what are you guys into? What's your nerd?
What's our nerd?
The shows we watch and stuff?
Yeah,
You
nerd.
know what? I'm like a diehard Game of Thrones nerd. I'm a guys nerd too.
John Mandy, I love that.
All of my nerd things. And tattoos. I'm really into like those crazy little tattoo shows.
Yeah, I gotta say,
I was just going to ask them how did the characters have formed. The fairy tale characters and the storybook characters are now one. How does that comport in their performance now?
My geeking is old movies. I'm a real classic old movie fan. Like back 40s Hollywood. Oh yeah, huge Bogey, Cagney, Katharine Hepburn. Yeah, big time.
I like Big Bang Theory. And I also like John Mandy, so and Game of Thrones, of course, was incredible. But yeah, I mean, you know, in terms of look, you know, being as if we're not in the costumes, we're sort of the entertainment. It's really fun to come and be entertained by you. So thank you for what you've done for our day.
Next.
It's Halloween all over again.
Oh, which one? Yeah, sorry.
This question is for Keegan. How long does it take to get into your blue fairy costume?
Oh, goodness. In the beginning, it took close to an hour. And then Lauren kind of fell into her, she's our on-set costume, and she sort of fell into a rhythm and it got easier. Now we're down to about, 20 minutes to a half an hour.
What happens if you have to go to the bathroom?
Yeah. This is one of the problems with the Blue Fairy costume. I can't sit
Sorry,
down
personal
and I
question.
can't go pee. So you do it before you go, because it's a whole operation to get it off. It's not one of those things where you can just kind of move things to the side. It's not a Spanx moment for those of you who go. So yeah, it's quite an operation.
This question is for Raphael and Keegan. Now that the fairy tale characters and the storybook characters are both, how does that now inform how you play those characters?
It's interesting. There's a lot that we kind of, in that moment at the end of season 2, when we kind of had that sudden awareness, what was interesting. Sorry, at the end of season 1, going into season 2. In season 2, there was that whole sense of kind of just trying to piece it together, trying to make sense of it, trying to do the right, from Archie's point of view, trying to do the right thing and get the queen to turn back and find redemption and all those things. There's a lot. It's a really interesting question that I think could be explored a little bit more in the writing, honestly, and that they, in terms of how you reconcile two sides of yourself and sort of an awareness that maybe you had another life.
Right.
I have friends who are convinced that this Once Upon a Time is actually a story about that shows us that reincarnation is actual. And that we live in multiple realms, and this is a way to kind of really sort of illustrate it. There's lots of ways that we could explore it, but I think there might be some chances to sort of really explore that a bit more.
Cool.
I think we should ask Neil deGrasse Tyson that question.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's the same thing, and I remember when I found out who I was going to be in Storybook, I thought I was going to own the toy store or the ice cream truck. So when Mother Superior's thing came down the pipe, I was like, what? Not to mention the fact that I was really terrified I was going to have to wear one of those wimple things. I got a real pretty pull off a wimple. I think for me, I would love to see them explore that more. What would you feel like if you woke up and found that you had been living as somebody else for 28 years? And I, as a fan of the show, would love to see more of that. I thought that there should be an episode where everybody was like, I won't say because I see there's little kids, but holy, really, what? And I don't know, for me, I've been a nun, that means I'm not allowed to love anybody, so maybe I would look for love, don't you think? Yeah. Maybe it's been a lonely 28 years.
This question is for all three of you. Did you guys grow up as gamers, Nintendo, Mario? Are you console or PC gamers today?
I literally said this to a lady over here. I wrote, "Thanks for keeping us informed." She's a computer technologist from Alex the Luddite. I can, if whoever's got my phone, there you go. I barely make that thing work. I can take pictures, I can make a couple calls. I never got into gaming too much. I gotta be frank, I was a bit of an outdoors kid, and I swam competitively and did stuff like that, and I lifeguarded for many years. I didn't actually start professionally acting until I was almost 30 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, because I ran swimming pools and did stuff like that, and I was in theater school until I was like 28, 29-ish. And so I'm 107. Not bad for 107. So, but no, I never really got into games too much, but I play games, so we'll talk later.
Sorry to disappoint.
I was a huge Pac-Man player. Professional. I was doing a movie once in a hotel and weren't allowed to go outside in the sun, and I went through so many rolls of quarters. That was fun. I've done a lot of voiceover work in games, and I played in Mass Effect. I've played a bit of Mass Effect 1 and a bit of Mass Effect 3, a bit more of 1 than 3. It's an extraordinary universe and an extraordinary fandom, and I'm sort of grateful to be a part of that community because they're really powerful, passionate folks in terms of their how vocal they are, how strongly they feel about the game. I don't have a lot of time to play games, but I love making them.
I will tell you that I did attempt to play World of Warcraft for about 10 minutes, and I realized that I am one of those kind of people that gets completely sick from that visual, you know, the animated was the first-person game thing, so that was it for me with World of Warcraft.
And to tag in with Raphael, I played Pac-Man, Frogger. Grade 9, Frogger. And we would skip school to play Frogger. I went up to like cave. Yeah.
Centipede, what was the centipede one? Yeah, we got a real old one, that one.
Yeah.
I just heard about it.
Yeah. But yeah, like Raphael, I would sneak out of the house with like rolls of quarters. That's true. That was a long time ago. I didn't remember that.
Oh my God, her ears are moving.
Go ahead.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Keegan, first off, I'm friendly and absolutely love the video.
Oh, yay.
She's all for them.
Goodness.
Yeah. My question is, you guys both play like three-dimensional characters, you know, green screen and all that. Are you guys on set when the other actors are filming their parts of the scene so they can play off of you, or how is that?
Sadly, no. They did a bit in the second season, let me come on the days when they were out there, so a lot of the Snow White, the little young Snow White stuff that I did, I got to be in the forest with her, and I mean, it helps both actors. Certainly, we are all professional, and I spend most of my time talking to pieces of tape, and I always say that for some reason they always make Raphael a water bottle. I think because he's little, I don't know, I'm always way up in the air. So it's always better when you have a set of eyeballs to look into and a face that can react. But a lot of times, for me at least, green screen, it's just not possible. And so it's usually like a C-stand with a piece of tape on it.
Hello. There's no whistle.
Don't transform yet.
And just so you know, that when you guys did the King Midas thing, like when we're in the castle, right? You know, and I was in the castle the whole bit. My daughter's coming here. I'm like, just tell me where the door is, because it's all green screen for me. Like there was nothing. The table was real, and the people, and that was pretty much it. You know, and the rest is all green screen. So yeah, you got to sort of make it up in your mind. You know?
It's always great watching Lana when she's got to be the evil queen, and she goes. She's like, do not look into the train.
So, this works by the way. I'm guessing between the three of you, Blue Fairy is probably the most complicated costume. However, I was wondering, in y'all's opinion, of the entire cast, of all the costumes you've seen, which is either the weirdest or like the hardest to work with?
Gee whiz.
You know, a lot of Lana's costumes are really elaborate, I would have to say.
And Robert also has, I think he's got a long, when he does Rumpelstiltskin, the makeup is extensive, and he's got the contact lenses as well, and those, it's an hour or so in and out. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, of course, the costume department is a very, very busy place at once upon a time, and they're constantly sort of turning out new things. And the hair and makeup department also sort of bringing in, bringing in, sort of doing things that they haven't done before. And so it's, you know, it's tricky when you have to sort of sit there for hours and hours and hours. I had a friend, Armin Shimmerman, who was on Star Trek, and he would be 4 hours in and 2.5 hours out every day. And I don't know. I mean, he's a saint. I don't know how he's able to maintain his composure, but you don't realize how intense it is.
Yeah, I did Stargate for like in the 10-year run of Stargate. Myself and Dion Johnson played a lot of their aliens, and I did these lizard creatures. And yeah, it was 4.5 hours. We go to work around 3:30 in the morning, sit down in the chair, and Dion was great. He would just like pass out. He'd wake up as a lizard. You know? And I eventually did the same thing, but it's true. Like, you know, we were like your friend. There were 4.5 hours in makeup, and a good hour and a half to 2 hours getting out of it. And I know it's another show, but it was funny. Richard Dean Anderson, the first time I did an episode, he never saw my face. And so we did a split episode where you guys film now and Once Upon a Time on the bridge. So I did the first half of the show, and then got out of my makeup, and they did the first half of the day was the end of an episode, and the second half of the day was the start of another episode. So I went over to say goodbye to Richard Dean, and he's like, "Who are you?" And I went, "Oh, just a sec." I showed my eyes when I got, "Oh, it's Alex!" So you don't ever see my eyes. You know, so yeah, it can be tough. And there's a little mystery flying around there. It's actually a drone. It's a little spy.
Just interrupt briefly. With this glowing lady over here, are you like a blue fairy?
Wow, that's very lovely.
Okay, you stay after. Let's get a picture.
Oh, fun. Thanks for the question.
She even glows, for real.
And who's got my phone now? Oh, there you go. Just checking.
It's been FedEx to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent.
Who are your favorite characters on the show other than yourself?
I love King Midas and Jimmy Cricket.
I got a zipper, hold on a second.
You know what? For me, and just the kind of TV watcher that I am, you know, of the fantastical ones, I really loved This Year. I talk about that one a lot. But my favorite things in the show was like the heart things of the show. And so the whole early, what's her nose, Emma and Neil stuff from when they met with the little bug, you know, I loved that because I felt like it was just so heartfelt. And that's just was one of my favorite storylines in the early section of it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that totally. Yeah, just the telling them the real heartfelt stories. That's what got me. Like I'm a fan of the show too. I watch it, just telling them. Like when you watch a show and you actually like, oh, you know, you feel your heart go, and that's exactly what I thought with that.
Yeah, remember that scene where they were back in Fairy Tale Land? It was Emma and Snow, and they were in that destroyed nursery, and they were looking at the crib, and I was like, oh my god! And that's what makes me watch this show. I don't know what makes you guys all watch the show, but those are the real moments. I mean, it's always fun to see the fantastical things and the trolls and Maleficent and everything else, but I think at the end of the day, if there's not a heart to your story, then people don't want to watch it. So.
I love the Pinocchio story. And it's funny, you know, here's the thing, I know Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket were never in a scene together, which is a funny thing, right? Yeah. So I'm not just saying this for self-serving reasons. I really love the character. And Geppetto, who's Tony Amendola is an old friend of mine, but I love that father-son story. I think it was really moving. So
and Tony's so good.
Tony's
great.
Yeah, I mean, what they've done with this writing is they've taken characters that we know and we love and we have a relationship with, and then what they've built on them and given them these incredible stories, so that it feels like you've been given suddenly a whole bunch more information about a character you already knew. So it's a really clever device because you already have a relationship to this idea. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Peter Pan. And it's going to be exciting to see kind of where this all goes. But as a device of storytelling, building on sort of the strength that you have, the long-term relationship is remarkable. And what I found sort of in terms of the audience is that my 8, now 9-year-old loves the show, and my 80-year-old mother also loves the show. So that the demographic is remarkable because these characters have really have such a strong audience. Also, just finally, is that it's incredible to me that the show travels so well. I get tweets from Croatia and Yugoslavia and Russia and France and Germany and Australia. So not a lot of American entertainment always travels well, and this is one show because of these fairy tales that I think goes to the heart that does.
That's a very good answer.
First of all, I want to say thank you guys for coming. It's awesome that you guys made it here, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for everybody in this room. We're glad that you guys came. That so many big fans here. But one question that I have for all three of you is, given that the show is aired and created by ABC, and ABC is owned by Disney, are you guys fans of any other properties that Disney has, like for example Marvel Comics?
Who's not a fan of Marvel?
I'm a fan of Jack Sparrow.
I was a big comic book nerd as a kid, and I collected like Iron Man and Wolverine, X-Men, and just everything. So yeah, I'm a huge Marvel fan. Like I didn't get to see the last Iron Man on the big screen. I just was busy working, running around, and I finally got to see it the other day, and now I went out and bought the Blu-ray. You know, so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how much Disney owns. and there's a running joke, I think, on the internet about, you know, now that they now own Star Wars, we can't wait to see C-3PO and Storybrooke, so. You know, there's the opportunities for crossover.
Although I have to say, you know, I went to Disneyland with my kids, oh my god, at Christmas to Disney. What's the one in Orlando?
Disney World.
Disney World, I told you that. And, you know, we paid to buy the tickets and the thing. It's like $10,000 to bring your kids there. And we're walking in the door, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like one of these. How come I have to pay $10,000? And I got home, and, you know, after Christmas, and we were all saying, oh, how was your thing? You know, and Lana was like, oh, we went to Disney World. And I said, I went to Disney World. It was so expensive. And she goes, no, didn't you do the tour and the whole thing? And I was like, no. Keegan, why did you not just call them and work for them?
No refund there.
Next time.
Yeah, I think there won't be next time.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm so happy to be here. Okay. My question is, as actors, where do you guys draw your inspiration for your characters, especially Minus? You seem like such a nice guy. Where do you draw your inspiration to being not so nice?
To be a semi-jerk. Yeah. Well, you know, I thank you for that. I think it's in the writing, big time. You know, in the writing, and you just think of it like, you know, there's a guy who, I was lucky enough to play King Midas. It was really cool, and a lot of producers were like, you know, it's sort of weird, but my look goes up and down. I normally carry a beard, but I get compared to, you know, Kenneth Branagh like once a week, you know. I had a lady stop me in the street, and she wouldn't let me go until I signed Kenneth Branagh's. I didn't know how to spell his name, so Kenneth Branagh. Gave it to her. Hey, see that? But, you know, I think it's just like, it's in the writing, you know, and then you create a backstory for yourself. Well, I do, at least I like, well, you know, what did it take to get him here? And like with King Midas, there's a lot of like history already written, so I just sort of access that. But you know, I think we've got all aspects of our personality from the dark to the light, and so you just kind of go that way a little bit more, and you know, see what happens. And it works out.
I think for you know, with the whole Mother Superior thing, I think they very specifically made the fairies nuns. There was a reason why they did that, so that it gives you an indication of where you fit on the spectrum of good and evil, at least on the surface. I know there are a lot of people who think the blue fairy is like pulling the strings and she's evil and they're sluts. I think that's really interesting, and I hope they explore that. Because it's really more fun to play evil people than it is to play good people. So certainly that informs a lot of who Mother Superior is. There would be times when I would get it and I would think, should I play this with like an arched eyebrow? Can I do that? And then I think, no, because it's not really there on the page. And then the same thing with the fairies. I mean, when they talk about Real Gorm and her being the most powerful, I actually sort of kept thinking about the stories of the old popes and the papacy and how they were really powerful. The church has been very powerful all through time. And that the popes often, they would kill people back in the day. They would do whatever they had to do to maintain that power. And I sort of tried to think about that in terms of the blue fairy, that sometimes, you know, a lot of people were really mad about the whole Nova thing, that she does what she has to do to keep that order in that world. So that's what I sort of come from.
In terms of the inspiration, I mean, I have to say the writers lead the charge, and they kind of really, I mean, this is really, it's, we are storytellers as actors, and we are, particularly in television, given everything by what they lay out for us. So thank goodness they're so good. In terms of what I was concerned about, I guess initially when I got the part, was just that they would perhaps do something that seemed. I say this. This show in other hands could have been done so treacly. You know, let's take Prince Charming and Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio, and Disney will make this show about the characters, and you could go, oh God, I've got cavities already just thinking about it. But what they've done and what they did with Jiminy Cricket, which again I was concerned about, was that they would make this character associated with conscience, sort of a guy that just sort of did the right thing because you're supposed to do the right thing. Instead, they actually wrote this very sort of tragic story that kind of took it in a very dark place, and in so doing, you find that he's doing the right thing because he so did the wrong thing, and he sort of came back from those fires. So again, what they've done is sort of magical over and over again by telling, just opening up these stories. And I've had so many people come over and say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was Jimmy Cricket's backstory." And I say, "Yeah, they made it all up." You know? But you know, they're masterful, and thank goodness, because I think we've all been reintroduced to these characters and sort of be enlivened by kind of what the miracle of storytelling can be.
There should be an episode though where all the like good characters all go kind of bad.
Like the Nightmare episode.
Great question.
So I'm always amazed by how well thought out the writing of the show is. Like stuff from the very end of season 2 shows up in the first 5 minutes of episode 1, and you don't find out about it for ages and ages. And one of the things I've really been interested in is how Dr. Whale, you don't realize he's Frankenstein until way late, or kind of like middle of season 2. So it just seemed kind of odd to me, like, do they explain to you guys ahead of time where your character's going? Like, does he know that he's going to be Frankenstein at some point, or?
I think that David did, yeah, but he didn't know when it was coming. Right.
But the rest of us, and I don't even think sometimes the writers really know. I think a lot of times it's a happy accident along the way, or they see the dailies and they say, "Oh, well, I didn't think of it like that," or you just see how it sort of floats along as they go. And some of us are still waiting to find out.
And for example, dovetailing what she said, I understand that Megan Ori as the wolf was something that they just sort of bumped into, like, oh my gosh, what if she's, so they, I think they leave the possibility open for inspiration to come in, but again, it's mighty good inspiration to come. So
and the wolf one was good.
I really liked that. When that happened, I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I really did. And with King Midas, like, I don't know, but for audition purposes and stuff, but like they never put like, the real character's name on your audition and keep it secret, right? So I'm looking at this and I'm reading, yeah, I think I know who this is, But it's even for like I just did one guest star on it, but it was like, seeing where the character was going or what he wanted to do even in that episode, you just see there's like an intricate patchwork that these guys have got crafted, and that it's all gonna lay out it somewhere. But like you say, there's happy accidents or things that people discover along the way they bump into. And that's the really cool thing I think about a show like this is that they're open to that. It's like the writers are open to that, obviously. So
they have a huge board in the writers' room that takes up like a wall that has all the plot points and the timelines and everything else.
I just got my phone now. You guys done? Oh, come on up. That's right. You guys can get it here. You guys can take a look. There you go.
Go ahead, next question. Sorry.
Hi, I know you can't reveal too much about the next season, but yeah, I know you is there anything exciting or significant gonna happen to Storberg now that like Emma, Snow, Regina, and Rumple have gone to Neverland? Like, especially since now the world can kind of come to Storberg. Is there anything gonna happen, like maybe be defenseless or something?
Well, we couldn't tell you that would bring a surprise, first of all. But I think we're.
Jane was here yesterday, and she had said, "Oh, I forgot to ask the guys what I can say." And I, it's one of those things where we're oftentimes sworn to secrecy, and honestly, for you, so that when you see it or hear it, or when you get to experience it the first time, it really is a surprise. So I think Eddie and Adam, who are the executive producers of the show and creators of the show, are the guys to follow on Twitter to get sneak peeks or kind of suggestions or ideas. And obviously they were part of Lost, so if you like Lost, they're also the party that kind of really lays in all those Easter eggs, which is really fun.
And I think they can't just never go back to story. I mean, I think they have to go back and deal with the people that got left behind. Who they thankfully didn't blow up. I was like at home when we were on set when that was ending, and Lana was just talking, and we were standing there, and she was saying, "Oh, I think they're gonna blow up Storybrooke." And I was like, "Oh!" I got home and I was like, "Oh my God, wait a minute, what?" And I sent out a tweet. I was like, "Have I told you how much I love you? Please don't kill me." So they didn't blow it up, so that's good news. And Bella's still there, so that's good news. And I can't imagine that they're not going to go back there and deal with what it is to be left behind. I think it's always been important an important through line for the story is, we have to go back. First they wanted to get back to Fairy Tale Land, and they're always trying to save somebody from somewhere, so surely they're not just going to leave us all there. And I don't know, the Blue Fairy seems to have magic and all of that, so she gotta do something.
She'll bust a move.
She'll bust a move down there.
Books and movies have you made and written?
How many movies have we been in, or sorry?
How many books and movies have you been written? How many books and movies have you made and written?
Like, how many projects have you been a part of, books, movies?
Oh, I've personally been in well over 100 episodes of TV and film. Well over 100.
I knew that.
Well,
As a matter of fact, I've been in.
No, but I had to answer this yesterday at Stargate. They were saying, and I actually Googled it and looked it up. I wasn't exactly sure.
I can tell you my Kevin Bacon number is 2.
How did you manage that?
Because I worked with Clint Howard.
Kevin Bacon number, I can say that I was at their wedding, so how's that?
So that's
I went to high school with Peter Shepard, so that's my answer. I have no idea how much I've done, but I'm really grateful to
Raphael's always working.
to be working, and this is an incredible show to be part of. This is really an incredible show to be part of. So this is a cherry on a cake for sure.
And all the Vancouver actors, I know that I lucked out and freaked out when I got King Midas. I was like, oh my God, but everybody I know in Vancouver, and I'm sure Keegan does the same. A lot of people love the show, want to get on the show. The actors really want to get on the show. Yeah.
I'd like to get on a hit show.
Yeah. Well, we didn't know it was going to be a hit when it first came up. No one knew.
I knew in the pilot though. When we were shooting the pilot and I went to the wedding scene, I brought my little daughter. She was 3, and she got all dressed up in her little thing to go meet Prince Charming and Snow White, and she could barely even look at them because she was 3. And we were standing there, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But before that, I didn't really. You're like, yeah, it's a pilot because they come and they go, and you just never really know. But once I sort of saw what was coming, you could sort of see it.
I just to that end, having read the pilot, I thought, this is fantastic. It's never going to work. It's just way too ambitious. I mean, it just seemed like on the page, you just thought, oh my God, you got smoke and that thing and castles. And then we got invited, the core group in Los Angeles, to a screening at William Morris to see it. This is before we knew whether it was actually going to be on schedule. And the lights came up, and we were all kind of like we'd been hit by a bazooka or something. It just was, oh my God, it was so much better even than we had imagined. And they had sort of surpassed our wildest expectations. And then to be able to do this, and this is what's incredible, I mean, I don't know if you know, they do these shows in 8 days. I mean, there's one extra day that's sort of a mystery day that they sort of slip in, but it's essentially, it's filmed and shot and completely, in the can in 8 days. Now, it takes a significant amount of time after that to finish it and put it together, but to do that every 8 days and do 22 of them is so incredible. The crew is astonishing, and the writers will continue to turn these stories out. But by the end of the season, and I understand that there's been some expressed interest we'd love to have more episodes. The fans would love more than 22. And I think as it is, the writers I think have about a week off between seasons. And the crew oftentimes have just a month or so, and they're wiped out. So it takes a lot to do it, and to do it at that high level in such a short amount of time takes its toll. But again, the production values are incredible.
My question is what was your favorite surprise that the writers have, either for your characters or just in general on the show? Because I mean, this show's always been about great surprises.
I like the wolf, but the cape was what made her not turn into the wolf. I thought that was very clever.
Favorite surprise? Jeez, there's so many. I loved the episode with Graham, and I was so shocked, and we knew that Grizzly first season. So the Sheriff Graham, when he died, I didn't love it, but so I can't say it. But I was shocked and engaged, and he knew from the beginning that that was what was going to happen. But I found it at the time sort of shocking and amazed at the writing that they would be willing to do that. And then of course there was a huge outpouring of sort of sadness about what had happened to him. And what it did though is it sort of made the evil queen so much more evil by the fact that she had done that and gotten away with it and killed such a beloved character. So yeah, their willingness to keep telling these stories and go anywhere. I also love the Frankenstein episode. I know we talked about with David Edwards, just that they then went out from sort of classic fairy tales into great literature and began to do that. That was sort of exciting and interesting. They can kind of go anywhere, can't they? I mean, there's not really too many places they can't go with what they've set up. Maybe where they jump the shark.
And I like the wolf thing as well. That was my favorite. I thought it was just so cool.
Next. Is that you?
Okay, I want to again just say thank you so much to all of you for being here. It means a lot to me, and I know just about everyone else in this room. The Once Upon a Time world is so huge. I know there's so many different characters and plots. A lot of them, you know, you may be working with someone and you actually are never in a scene with them. So I was curious to know if you could put a bug in the writer's ear. Is there a certain storyline or maybe another actor that you would like to work with that you haven't had a chance to be in yet?
I'm going to pick this up basically because we had this fantastic idea yesterday. And we have absolutely no say in this, just so you know. I mean, I am literally pitching this into the dark. But what Jane was sitting between the two of us yesterday, and we were talking about romantic possibilities, and an idea got formed between, this lady here to my right. So there's all sorts of fun things. I mean, you know, what I do know is that the writers do read what you guys post, and they do read, you know, I love so-and-so, or I'd love something to happen, and I think that they're always looking for new ideas. I know that they've been very focused on adding new characters, and a lot of new characters. And that some of the folks from Storybrooke, obviously the core group of which obviously Keegan and I are part of that, are sort of in an alternate reality, you know, waiting to come back. And but you know what I always encourage people to do who have great ideas is, you know, write it in, tweet it in, you know, or Facebook it in, so they'll get to see it. I know that they read it.
Well, I for one would blue hooker. I think the most superior would go for a bad boy.
Captain Hook.
Don't you think? Is this thing even working?
Yeah.
Sorry.
King might as well. He'd like to, you know, kiss somebody or touch somebody without turning him to gold. So he's been a little lonely.
Hi. I was wondering if you could see any one thing happen to your character, anything at all, what would you like that to be?
Become a series regular.
That's a free trip to Disneyland.
Yeah. I want to go to Disneyland for free.
Come back. There you go.
Did you say else?
You know what? I would like to find out what the deal is with Rule Golem. I would like to know how the fairies became fairies, and like irrespective of me as the fairy, I think it's an interesting thing that a lot of people want to know how fairies came about. How did they get power? How do they have that relationship with the dwarves and the whole thing? I would love to see that.
Again, for some of you who were here yesterday, you know, I would love to, I'm repeating some of this, but I would love to sort of see what Archie's life is outside of the office. I'd love to know a little bit more about Pongo. I'd love to know if there's a romantic, you know, person in his life, whether even if it's a ship.
In Pongo's life?
Yeah, Pongo's life. I'm very concerned about Pongo's life. And then I'd be interested also just because of him being kind of sort of the voice of the good guy. I'd be so interested if there was a crisis of conscience for Archie, where he would have to sort of fight through something, whether he went rogue.
Going out with Lacey.
whether he went rogue or something, and then had to sort of fight his way back. I think that would be interesting. But again, no one from the writer's office is calling me and asking me. But thanks for asking that.
If you stab the dark one, then you would become the dark one. So you would have done it to be good, to get rid of the dark one.
And you heard it here.
Look for it in an alternate universe.
Hi. On the show, a lot of the cast end up being revealed as multiple fairy tale characters, like how Rumpelstiltskin was Beast and the Crocodile. Are there any fairy tale characters who have been introduced you wish also ended up being you?
This is entirely just, has nothing to do with anything, but I was like, wouldn't it be cool if the blue fairy turned out to be Tinkerbell? I'm not the only person that has ever floated that, so it's not me. Oh, right. Yeah, I should learn not to tweet so much. I tweeted Adam and Eddie at the end of last season, I think. I said, I will give you $1 million if you let me play Tinkerbell. And Eddie wrote back very tersely, you are already the blue fairy. I don't really have $1 million.
I'm going to leave that for her. Thank you.
I'll be looking for a new show.
It's nice to see all of you. Thank you for coming. We talked earlier about having the heart of the program being the heart, and one of the storylines when you died, we thought anyway. But I wondered about the relationship with Henry, with the characters, and how he is. I don't know his real name, but how he is to actually work with.
His name is Jared, and he's great. He was on Mad Men before he came on the show, and you never necessarily know. Sometimes young actors, and I was a young actor. I started at 4, but having encountered them as an adult, sometimes they can be annoying. I don't know, precocious in an annoying way, to be frank. And he's not. He's just a really dear kid, and he just loves to hang out. And, I get piggyback rides. When I'm in Vancouver, I miss my kids a lot, so I get to hang out with him, and he's such a sweetheart. We went to Disneyland together with my kids.
You
got the tour?
No comment. And basically, he's a really sensitive, dear kid, which is what you get from him on camera. And there's sort of a protective feeling about him as well for all of us, with Ginny and Josh and Jennifer, all of us, and Lana. We care about him. He's the sort of the young one, and we also look out for him. So he's a really a sweetheart.
And you remember when Henry died, and we were all standing in that room all that day. And every time that he kind of woke up and said, "I love you too."
He's a good kid. Made me cry. I'm a big baby. I'm a softie, and that happened. I was just like, don't go.
My mom called me. She's like, "Oh my God, he's not really dead, is he?" I said, "Mom, just watch the rest of the episode."
Cheers.
I'd like to know, I think Regina is just such a misunderstood character. She's desperate for love and makes such poor choices. Is there any thought on redeeming her? Because I was actually hoping she would join forces with the other characters and fight against Cora. And now that Cora's dead, that's not going to happen. But I really want her to go truly into the good fold.
Oh, see, that would be so boring. Don't you think, look, if we don't, I tell my daughter, because I try to demystify some of the scary things that she might come across. For the most part, I don't let her watch things. But, we talk a lot about every story has to have a villain, because that gives everybody a problem to overcome. And to me, if we didn't have the evil queen, where would the problem be? Do you know what I mean? And for me, this is me as a fan, when I watched, and she was trying to be good and all that, I was like, I don't want to see that. I want to see, mean, evil, horrifying, evil queen, because that's, I don't know, it just gives you something to grab onto. It gives you somebody to hate. And I think that was a big part of what made people love this show. We love to have something to hate. And so I think if Regina went good, we'd be like, well, all right then. Well, I guess there's Book. He's kind of...
Yeah. I guess we have to change her name to
too, right? You know, I think the writing has been great, that you can take a character who you love to hate, and then also, as you've expressed anyway, you know, feel her struggle. And that's what Lana's done, which has been so remarkable, and I just love the work that she does. Because you really feel, you know, it could be one note, right? Just, you know, evil.
And I don't disagree with you on that. I think there has to be the struggle. It's important, and it's what makes us, you know, it brings us back to the brink of hating them, and it keeps you interested. So I don't want to say that I think you should just be purely evil. I love the struggle, and I think it's an important part of it.
I mean, we'll see where they go with it, and it's you know, we've got lots of television. Excuse me, television is a long form storytelling, right? So every week is like a new chapter of a book, and every season is essentially, you know, brings a whole new place to go, and so it's something that will continue to sort of reveal itself, I guess, in time. But her struggle of sort of between the dark and the light, I think, has been really well played by Lana, and obviously they've maximized it, you know, in the writing, and then for you to ask that question, then it speaks to it. So I think that's great that you feel that way. Yeah.
Hi, again. Just on a professional note, when you guys were submitted for this show, did any of you read for a different character before you were cast as the one you are now playing? And how many times did you have to read for that character before you actually got cast? And if you were reading for a different character, were you disappointed with the one you got?
Oh, I can take that up. Because I auditioned for Dr. Whale, yeah, and the Magic Mirror. They had me read for both. I can't remember which I read for first, but they asked me to read for that, and I was in the mix apparently for both, and then didn't get it. And then when King Midas came out, they were like, "Oh my goodness!" You know, I was like, "Oh cool." The producers are really nice guys, and they came up and just said, "You know, you didn't get those other two parts, but we knew this was coming, and we really wanted to see it for this, and it was just lucky you didn't cut your hair." But yeah, so it was cool. Like, I mean, and having seen the script from that standpoint, and I was salivating trying to get on the show. Like, I couldn't wait. So there you go.
I always had read for the Blue Fairy, and I had just had a baby, so I was sort of still in that zone of like, okay. Somebody said to me, "Oh, I saw your baby at the audition." I was like, "Right her to the audition." I probably read, I think I read at least 3 times, and it might have even been 4. And I remember I wore this like full length, I was like, "She's a fairy." You know, a lot of the other girls had like a blue scarf, or, you know, everybody tried to do sort of something. And I was like, "She's a fairy." I wore this cape, I had this green velvet full length cape thing, and I wore that, and I remember Mark Milad saying, "I know you sound like a perv, but what shape are you underneath that? Like, what do you look like?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I just had a baby." So then the next time I came, I wore this like little dress, and then I got blue hair.
You know, I auditioned for Jimmy Cricket, and it was one of those things where I didn't know. The question I had was, do they want a voice match? I mean, did they want something? And they said, no. They want it real. And again, I think that's sort of been the hallmark of the show, is that they've really tried to kind of create something that's real. And I've had friends who've been auditioning for the show. They said, "Well, you know, what do I?" And I said, invariably, always I just sort of encourage them to sort of go back to something that's real, because that's where we get that human connection, right, with the characters. I auditioned for it. I walked out, excuse me, and then they chased me down and brought me back, and I did it again. It was a scene between Henry and I in the pilot. They had told me afterwards that they had seen a lot of guys for it, and they couldn't quite. Apparently, some people, you know, it's that loving relationship between a therapist and the boy, and I guess in some people's hands it had gotten a little creepy. So I'm a dad, so I had full access to that, you know, relationship, and I anyway, it just sort of came my way very quickly. So yeah, very grateful.
We only have time for one more question.
Okay.
No pressure.
Exactly how much direction does Disney have in the making of Once Upon a Time?
I have no idea, but I can only imagine it's a lot. Because you're dealing with these characters that are owned by them, and not the least of which they're still, you know, making money from them. I mean, if you go to Disneyland now, you can buy shirts and
and hats and mugs and things that have all of these characters. They're hugely proprietary about these characters. So the fact that they would be open to doing a show where they could take these characters, dust them off, bring them back, bring them into Back to the Future, as it were, and do something with them is fantastic. I'm certain that Adam and Eddie, although I've never been a part of them and I haven't been told directly, but I would certain that they have huge meetings with Disney. Disney is gigantic and would have a lot of say about probably certain directions of things. But what that is or what those discussions are, I'm not sure.
They pay the bills.
Do we have time for Ariel's question? Yell it out.
I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you guys for the whole team brings the show to life, and it's wonderful to relive our favorite characters through you guys. And Ariel obviously is what I grew up with, so I tell you, I did like mine. Yes, when I saw the teaser finally for the first time. But we love you guys so much. And what have you seen like a kid or anybody just like light up and you felt that moment of like words you imagine that tell about like that moment? You're like, wow, we're keeping this and these stories and traditions alive.
Well, I think we see it every time we come to one of these conferences. The fans, the Once Upon a Time fans around the world, because so Raphael and I have both been sort of traveling around, and we get it every time we go to one of these. And you get it on Twitter, and you get it on Facebook, or wherever you're at. We know that Oncers are fans, and that you love us, and we love you back. We couldn't be a show without you. So, thanks back to you.
Thank you.
Operation Covert Podcast.